Mortgage rates just slipped below 6%, and that could release a wave of pent-up buyers who've been chomping at the bit in the Lake Geneva market. Mortgage rates briefly touched 5.98, the lowest level we've seen in almost 3.5 years, and then it moved back up to about 6.19 with some geopolitical tension. Now, here's what's interesting. Buyers react more to psychological thresholds rather than small differences, and crossing that 6% threshold is going to wake a lot of people up, and there's a lot of pent-up demand, and those lower rates is going to release some of that, and we're already starting to see some signs of that as shown by mortgage application rates picking back up after slumping a bit. So the real question is going to be, what's going to happen to home prices here in Lake Geneva when all those buyers start jumping back in? But mortgage rates aren't the only thing that buyers look at. Economic stability and confidence, that matters just as much. They look at job security, political stability, global conflicts, tariffs, and corporate layoffs. All of this is going to influence a buyer's confidence in the market. And here's where it matters. Even when rates fall, buyers often wait for signs of stability. Housing decisions are usually driven by life decisions first, and then interest rates. Walworth County's months of inventory went from 2.57 to 2.9. In Lake Geneva, 2.54 to 2.8. That's a small shift, but anything under 4 months is a seller's market, meaning the power still favors the sellers. Here's why that matters. Buyers still don't have a lot of choices. Yet, that keeps power tilted towards those sellers, but the slight increase in the months of inventory shows that the market is breathing. And honestly, that's not bad for February, which is typically the coldest month of the year anyways. The median sold price of homes jumped from $405,000 to $427,000. That's a noticeable increase. Interestingly, that number is almost identical to the national median list price of $419,000. And by the way, the national price per square foot is $209 per square foot. Here's why that matters. Here in Lake Geneva, we're known for the lakefronts and the second homes, but the broader Walworth County market sits almost exactly where the typical American household sits. And what that means is national forces such as mortgage rates, economic pressures, consumer confidence are influencing our local market more than people think. Sold listings in Walworth County and in Lake Geneva are down, but that's completely normal for this time of the year. We also saw that same trend nationwide. On the other hand, active listings in Walworth County went from 222 to 240, in Lake Geneva from 26 to 28. It's a very modest increase, but here's why that matters. Both buyers and sellers are waiting for the spring market to act. So inventory is slowly creeping up, waiting for that spring market to bloom. This is especially relevant if you're thinking about buying or selling in our area because early sellers and buyers face less competition. Days on market are creeping up, but it's still in a normal range for this time of the year. The average days on market in Walworth County rose from 55 days to 69 days. That might sound concerning, but context matters. It's winter. Walworth County, typically our range is between 40 and 70 days on market. Lake Geneva between 20 and 80 days on market, depending on the season and the price range. So right now, everything is tracking as it should be. So homes are still selling, but buyers are just taking a little bit longer to make a decision. And that's important because that's going to affect your pricing strategy depending on your situation and your time frame. Buyers are still negotiating, but they're not negotiating aggressively. The sold to list price ratio slipped microscopically from 95.7 to 95.4. That means homes are still selling roughly 5% below asking price, which is actually really strong for this time of the year. Now, here's the key insight. Buyers are negotiating rationally, not emotionally. Homes priced correctly are moving quickly. Homes priced aspirationally, well, they tend to sit longer. Now, pricing strategy is going to matter more than optimism. If you're still watching, here's the surprising part. According to the National Association of Home Builders Affordability Pyramid, 52% of households can't afford a home that's more than $300,000, yet the estimated median price of homes is $410,000 in 2026. Here's what that means. There are far more households competing for homes below $300,000. Demand compresses at those lower price tiers and supply remains tight, which keeps entry-level homes extremely competitive, and it's driving the price of these homes to be far more than what they actually should be. And this affects workforce housing, first-time homebuyers, and retirees looking to downsize in the Walworth County area. This is the biggest structural challenge that we're facing in our area: housing affordability. Luxury home buyers behave very differently, especially the waterfront ones. They focus less on mortgage rates and more on asset quality and lifestyle value. They ask questions about waterfront footage, shoreline stabilization, insurance exposure, carry cost, long-term value, resale value. Premium prices require premium transparency, and luxury sellers should be prepared with all this documentation up front. Quick story, I've been negotiating with this buyer's agent about one of our lakefronts. The buyers love the property, the home, the land, the setting, everything. But we've been going back and forth for weeks discussing something that most people wouldn't expect: the underground oil tank. Structurally, super solvable. But these buyers immediately started thinking about environmental risk, future resale value, converting it to LP, where the tank sits, how it's going to affect their view or the landscape. Entry-level buyers think about their monthly payments. Luxury buyers think about 20-year ownerships or more, or the future marketability of the property. They're not just thinking about buying a house, they're thinking about buying the next chapter of that property's story. The Lake Geneva market remains strong. Inventory is limited, prices are holding, and mortgage rates are stabilizing for now. But buyers are becoming more selective and analytical, which means pricing strategy matters more than ever. If you're planning to move in the Lake Geneva area this year, understanding these shifts will give you more options, and knowing how the market affects your specific home or your price range will change your strategy on your timing and your pricing. So when you're ready, reach out and make your next move legendary.